there friends, it's Ashley here from the Loopy Lamb and the loopylamb.com, and today I want to show you how to do the Tunisian Simple Stitch. And you can see here that I have a completed swatch in Tunisian Simple Stitch, and this has been done with a worsted weight yarn. Now this yarn, this stitch can be done in any yarn and hook combination, but for today we're going to be using a worsted weight yarn and a size 6mm Tunisian crochet hook. I'm using these Clover Takumi Tunisian hooks, and if you're using an interchangeable hook, you will not be needing the attached cord. You'll just be needing your hook for today. So Tunisian creates a really beautiful but usually dense fabric, but you can combat that density and add some drape in by using a larger hook than you would typically use for that yarn size. So when I'm doing Tunisian, I tend to do a little looser crochet, so I'm using a 6, but you can do 6, 6.5, 7, whatever creates the best fabric for you. So let's get started. And today I'm using Brava worsted weight yarn from We Crochet, and if I'll link to that in the description box below if you're interested in checking that out. And to start Tunisian, you're going to, just like you do with normal crochet, you're going to create a slip knot and you're going to put that on your hook. Now with normal crochet, there's usually like a stitch multiple that you need to be aware of when you're crocheting. So if you wanted to have say 6 single crochet stitches, you would have 6 plus 1, right? Because you need that extra chain, because you're never going to work into the second chain or the first chain from the hook. With Tunisian, it's different. With the Tunisian Simple Stitch specifically, you want to chain the number of stitches that you want to have. So if I want 10 stitches, I'm going to do a chain 10. If I want 15 stitches, I'm going to do a chain 15. So for today's sample, we're going to do 10 stitches, and we're going to yarn over our hook and pull through the chain, and that's your chain 1, okay? And it's just like regular crochet, yarn over, pull through the loop. Okay, so I've got 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. Okay, so now the reason if you want 10 stitches, you're going to do 10 chains is because the chain on your hook is going to count as a stitch here. So once again, the chain on your hook is going to count as your first stitch. So we're going to take a look at your chain and we're going to turn it towards you, and we're going to identify the bump on the back of the chain here. And that's where we're going to work into for our base chain, because it creates a nice bottom base of your work. And I'll bring this swatch over to show you quickly. So I've worked into the back loops of my swatch here, and then you can see that it matches here on the top. So that's why we're going to be working into the back bumps. If you're not too concerned about that, you can work into the chains as you normally would for normal crochet, but I like to have mine match, so we work into the back bumps. So finding the back bump of the second chain from the hook, you're going to insert your hook, yarn over, and pull up a loop. Now in Tunisian crochet, you have what's called a forward pass and a return pass. What we are doing right now is called the forward pass, and the forward pass consists of you picking up loops in the required stitches. So for Tunisian Simple Stitch, we are going to pick up a loop in every stitch or every chain that we created. So we've got one here, and we're going to leave that on our hook, and we're going to insert our hook into the back bump of the next chain, yarn over, and pull up a loop. Okay, so there we've got 3, and we're going to do that all the way across. This is your foundation row, and you'll see this in crochet patterns. Most of them are very similar, if not the same, for many different Tunisian stitches. So if you can get this first foundation row, forward pass and return pass down, you've got a really good foundation to work on for other Tunisian crochet stitches. So this working to that back bump can be a little fiddly, but it is definitely worth the extra effort, my friends. Okay. Oops. So I'm working into my last chain here. And now that I'm done, just to show you, I'll spread them out and you can count that I have 10. This is 10 stitches. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. So that's our completed forward pass. So for our return pass, we're going to yarn over a hook and we're going to pull through one loop. This creates an edge stitch and is very similar to a chain one. Okay. Then we're going to yarn over hook and we're going to pull that through the first and second loops on our hook, like so. And then we'll do that again. Yarn over and pull through 2 loops. We're going to do that all the way across our work. Yarn over, pull through 2. Yarn over, pull through 2. Yarn over, pull through 2. So that is our completed foundation row, and I'm going to spread this out so you can kind of see it a little bit better. Getting that hook out of the way might help us. So your work should look something like this. Okay, if you're using a bigger hook, you'll see that this space here is much bigger. And I remember the first time I did this, I'm like, oh my gosh, there's these big holes in my work. What am I going to do? Those are supposed to be there. Don't freak out. We're going to fill those in. Okay, so we are going to begin the forward pass of our row 2. So when you're working this stitch, you're going to skip this what's called a vertical bar. You can see that this vertical strand of yarn, you're going to skip that and you're going to identify the vertical bar of the next stitch. So right here is your vertical bar, and if you spread your work out, you can see that there's actually the stitch kind of loops up and around, and then there's a front and a back bar to that stitch. And I hope that that's able to be seen there. Let me just stretch that out a little bit to exaggerate it. So we've got a front and a back bar here to our work. So when you're doing the Tunisian Simple Stitch, you're going to insert your hook from right to left, and it's like you're just going to pick up that front bar and only the front bar. Okay, so from right to left, pick up the front bar. Then you're going to yarn over hook and pull up a loop. Okay, and remember, when we're working our forward pass, we're not going to be dropping or working off any of the loops. We're picking up the loops all the way across. So again, I'm identifying that next vertical bar, inserting my hook from right to left to pick up that bar, yarn over, and pull up a loop. And we're going to do that all the way across. Just make sure that you are picking up only the front vertical bar all the way across. And now when you get to the very last vertical bar, you have to do something a little different. So I'm going to show you that next. So when you get to the edge, you can see that we've got a strand of yarn here. And if you turn your work, you can see that there is a little V here. So we've got a front part of the V and the back part of the V here. That is your front and back bar of your edge stitch. So when you're doing your edge stitch, you're not going to just pick up the front bar, because it will create a gap in your work and it will look really unsightly. So what you're going to do is you're going to insert your hook and you're going to pick up both strands of that V on the edge. So the front and the back bar, like so. And you're going to yarn over and pull up a loop. Okay. And what this does is this creates a nice edge on the edge of your work here, a nice V along the edge. So you want to make sure that you're always picking up those 2 strands on the edge. So what we'll do now is we're going to do a return pass for row 2, and we're going to yarn over and pull through the first loop only. Okay, that's your, again, that's like your chain 1. It creates your edge stitch. And then we're going to yarn over and pull through 2 loops. Okay, and we'll do that again. Yarn over, pull through 2. Yarn over, pull through 2. all the way across your work. And that is your row 2 return pass completed. And now you can see, now that I've done my row 2, that the space in between the stitches is much more clear. And as you're working your return pass, you're going to start filling those spaces in. So you don't have to worry about those spaces, because you can see now that the spaces that we had in our foundation row are all filled in, and they're no longer a problem. So I'll show you the forward and return pass of the Tunisian Simple Stitch again. So for your forward pass, again, you're going to skip that first bar, identify the second vertical bar, and insert your hook from right to left and pick up that vertical bar. You're going to yarn over and pull up a loop. And again, we're picking up loops all the way across our row. And at the end of every row, you want to make sure that you take a moment to, especially as you're learning, to count each of the loops on your hook when you finish each row, because you want to make sure that you have the appropriate number of stitches on your hook. Sorry, when I say completing each row, I mean completing your forward pass, because of course you're going to want to count those as you're picking them up. So again, I'm at my last stitch and I'm turning. I see my front and back bar of that edge stitch there. I'm going to insert my hook, pick up both of those bars, yarn over and pull up a loop. And again, if I was wanting to just double check, I would just double count that and make sure that I have 10 loops on my hook. So to create that edge stitch, I'm going to yarn over and pull up a loop through that first loop on my hook only, creating that edge stitch. Then we're going to yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2. And we're going to do that all the way across. Again, so for this stitch, you can do this in any stitch multiple that you'd like. You can do it for any size. And if I wanted to create a longer piece with this, I would just keep going. But now I'm going to show you how to bind off your work in the Tunisian Simple Stitch. So you can have a piece of fabric that doesn't have these gaps at the top that you would have if you just left it there. And so you have a nice clean edge on the top. Because if I were to just leave this here and not work a bind off, you'd have those big gaps in between your stitches that we were talking about at the beginning. And we don't want that. We want to have a nice solid fabric. So to do that, we are going to do a forward pass, just like we would for a Tunisian stitch. So we're going to insert under the first vertical bar, right to left, yarn over and pull up a loop. But this forward pass for your bind off is different because there won't be a return pass to complete it. So we need to fill in all those gaps during the forward pass. So instead of leaving the loop on your hook, you're going to take that loop and you're going to pull it through the loop that's existing on your hook. Okay, and so that does two things. It fills in the space here and it creates that nice bind off edge that we're looking for. So to do your second bind off stitch, you're going to insert your hook from right to left under that vertical bar, yarn over, pull up a loop, and then you're going to pull that loop through the loop that's already on your hook there. And we're going to work that all the way across, and you're going to do something. I'm going to show you the edge stitch as well, how you would complete that when you get to the very end. Okay, so I'm at my very last stitch, and again, as we've done for all of our edge stitches, we want to identify that front and back loop of your edge stitch, insert your hook so you pick up both of those vertical bars, yarn over, pull up a loop, and then again, you're going to pull that loop through the loop that's already on your hook, and that finishes your bind off. So to completely finish, you're going to yarn over, pull through your work, and then you'll just cut your yarn and pull it all the way through, and that would finish your bind off, and that would finish your fabric. And again, the Tunisian Simple Stitch can be used for a wide variety of projects, and I really love it. If you wanted to use it for really warm winter wear, it would be great for that as well. So I hope that you found this helpful. If you did, please hit that like button and consider subscribing to this channel. And if you have any comments or questions, I would love to hear from you. Please make sure that you leave them in the comment section below so that I can hear what you have to say, as well as help you out if you need any further assistance. Thanks so much for watching, friends. If you enjoy free crochet patterns, please check out my blog, theloopylamb.com. Thanks so much for watching. Happy hooking, and I'll see you next time.